Join me on Monday, August 29th, as we get to sit down and talk with Michael Gardner, obstacles in life and overcoming them and how they impact our walk and different perspective on life. Tune in on Remember God Loves You, and I'll meet you at the Finish Line podcast. Hope you guys have a blessed day, and remember, God loves you, and I'll meet you at the finish line. Bye.
Sign up to The Economist for in-depth curated expert analysis of world events and topics ranging from business and culture to science and technology. You'll get the weekly digital edition, online-only articles, curated newsletters on politics, the markets, science, culture and China, and full access to The Economist Podcast Plus. The Economist is independent journalism for independent thinking. Go to economist.com and get your first month free.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Savaged, unfiltered. Your host, Michael Gardner.
First and foremost, guys, I want to welcome myself back to the airwaves. For those who have not known, I was involved in a somewhat severe, just about a severe car accident this past week, but doing a lot better. The foot still hurts. Got a few bruised ribs. So it hurts. I'm gonna say that, guys. I'm gonna try my best here to try to wing out some of the pain. But guys, as you can see, this is my first time here back on the show in the last week or so. So bear with me. I want to thank my girlfriend, Mackenzie, here for putting out amazing content while I was away in the hospital. Thank you very much. And to keep the show alive. Soslin, welcome back, buddy. Welcome.
Absolutely. You know, it happens. You know, thank goodness I got a refund on my flight and stuff, and you know, you're gonna have to now. It gives you an excuse to come up to Milwaukee now and get to go up where there's no freedom.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make a trip up to Wisconsin to check out your beautiful liberal state there and radical state. Hopefully, when I come up there, I'll have to bring an armored suit or something, compared to what you've been saying about Wisconsin. But guys, before we kick it off here, Sauce, we are going to have a special guest joining us here on the show, Mr. Gary Roberts, which I'm told goes by the nickname of Dragon. We're going to find out what the whole meaning of dragon means momentarily, as he is going to be joining us here momentarily. Hopefully soon, within the next few minutes. I did say that this was a 1:30 scheduled podcast episode, so hopefully he's going to be on soon, which I think he will, because he's been super excited to come on. Now, guys, just give a little side story here. I mean, this man, Sauce, is literally, he's biking across the country. You know what I mean? For homeless veterans, and I think that's an awesome cause, for somebody, literally putting the sacrifice out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, I think it brings awareness to the epidemic that we're having, thinking that, we have more homeless veterans now on the streets than we've ever had before, while we have more people, illegal immigrants, being taken care of than we ever have in nice hotels, which is kind of very sad state of mind we're in, and it shows you the direction and the morality of this country.
Yeah, absolutely, Sauce. I can agree. I mean, I do want to set the standard there, Sauce. That not all homeless people, are maniacs, lunatics, and just drug addicts. Some of them are trying to do their best to to overcome that obstacle. You know what I mean?
And that's the whole thing. It's not all homeless. Like I'm gonna reiterate. Like, not all homeless people ask to be there. Not all homeless people wanted to be homeless. And it's just maybe they had an addiction that or situations like divorces, or they couldn't get on a proper VA care, so they were go. And that does happen, especially. So that's why we have to take a look at the VA system and kind of fix it, but it's not going to get fixed until we get President Trump back in, sadly. And it's really heartbreaking, and we need to bring more focus and awareness upon that to the public as well. So I think that's what I'm glad to have Dragon on this show together.
Yeah. Like I said, he should be joining us momentarily, guys. Like I said, we did send out the invite to him, so he will be joining us actually from the state of Indiana. Actually, not too far from you, Sauce. What about maybe about 4 or 5 hours if I have my timing correct. So he's kind of like right around the backyard, so to speak, from you. You know.
Yeah, is he in the? Where's he at? What state is he at right now? Is he in New York?
No, he would be in Indiana, Sauce.
Oh, that's not too far away from. Okay, that's not too far.
No, not too far. Like I said, probably 4 or 5 hours, if that. Maybe a little bit more, depending on the area. I know he was coming from a small little area. I forgot the town. We got to get the town on it. But like I said, he's got an amazing story. I did get the chance to speak to him a little bit off the air. He's literally, like I said, he's sacrificing, his entire, pretty much his entire self, to go across country, to spread the word out, to try to get some funding, for what he's trying to do. What he's trying to do is he's trying to come up with these tiny homes. He came up with a concept that he wants to build tiny homes for homeless vets, because a lot of homeless vets, they're not getting the proper care, that they deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think what are your thoughts on the tiny homes?
I don't know. I think it's substantial housing, but it's just I'm not really sure. It's it could work, but I think it has a lot to do with the proper planning and everything else. You know what I mean?
I think with the tiny homes, I think that's got to be taken care of with the tiny homes, like with everything else, because I mean, it depends if the veteran has a family, and then if he's got kids and stuff. So I can see it working if he's a single man, and if he's a single person, doesn't have a lot of stuff, because it can get out of hand a lot. Really, it can get out of hand really quick, and that's the thing with those tiny homes. It can be like a mess, and then you have another problem at hand that is unnecessary. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but I did see that he has a slogan that he goes by. Which I want to reiterate to him when he comes on the show. So hopefully soon, guys. I do apologize. We did send out a third invite to him. So hopefully he's in an area that has excellent Wi-Fi or internet. But he has this slogan here, Sas, that he says he calls himself a mutant. He heals like a mutant, but his will is beyond the stars. I heard that terminology from somebody once before. And it's quite intriguing that this gentleman uses the same type of quote for himself, his life. Have you ever thought about that, Sauce? Did you ever hear anything?
Savaged, unfiltered.
I mean, apparently this gentleman is spiritual, because he was talking to me, and he was putting a lot of spiritual tense behind his wording, where he actually used idle minds and hands are the devil's workshop. I've heard of that, and that is strong. That is very, very strong, guys. Let me repeat that. And hands are the devil's workshop. That's powerful, Sauce.
That is very powerful, because did you know idle hands are the devil's workshop? Because that statement, idle hands. All right. So with the idle hands, I can see where he's coming from, because the idle hands is talking about, okay, what can I best work for myself? How can I my hands to make better myself. So what can I do, like, to do idolizing your works into like making it your own? And that kind of brings it kind of perverts the idea of coming out of your heart, and it kind of perverts the idea of what God is intending you to do with your hands. Because now, what I mean by with your hands and stuff, I mean that's metaphorically. I should want to correct with that. It's like your train of thought and your mind. If you have a mindset of thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to work and I'm going to work in discreet and I don't want any credit for it. That's from God blesses you on that, because God allows and he works in divine ways of doing that. But if you work in a thinking, okay, I'm going to publicize and politicize all this so I can get as much attention on me as I can. And you take pictures with people in front of churches and a check, you're then idolizing yourself, and you're then idolizing what you're pretty much worshiping the devil in that sense. So I can see where he's coming from a Christian standpoint. And that's fantastic. That's why I want to explain to your viewers what that truly means from a Christian standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he had, he has had a troubled life. Of course, this gentleman may have possibly, gone through homelessness himself, and if he has. I'd love to get his comment on that, because if he has, I mean, this gentleman is also putting his life out there for the common man and common woman. He's trying to, I mean, in a way, I mean, like, just so, kind of, please help me if you can, I'm more spiritual. I think, by coming out of that point, he is literally giving a hand, to his fellow man, his fellow brother and sister. And especially in his times, like if he's homeless himself, or if he has faced homelessness, that's a servant of God. I mean, is it not?
Yeah, because he knows what it feels like. He knows what it's like to hit rock bottom. And a lot of us, when we hit the homelessness, for instance, I was when you in my shoes and stuff, and the people I work with and I interact with people on the streets, a lot of them are at the rock bottoms, and the rock bottoms are like, you lost everything. You don't have anything to your name besides the clothes on your back. So the only person that you have to lean on to is God. And so then you see, and not only that, but then God provides godly men and women and men of faith and men of spiritual that come along the way to help you, to guide you to like in a job, to guide you to get in like a small house, to get you up from the rock bottom. So then what do? In contrast, you're like, okay, you know what? I know what feels like, being at rock bottom. I know what it feels like, and I don't want people being in that situation. That's why I want to be a witness, and I want to be a testimony, and I want to be a disciple unto God and disciple others to guide each other from and help each other out, so we don't end up having brothers and sisters in Christ in that same predicament. You look at, for instance, how I started my podcast of suffering a stroke. I don't want people in the hospital being alone, and so that's why I started doing podcasting. And now, of course, look at it's all by God. It's not by me. But he's gifted me with the right people coming in mind, and now flourished this podcast, this ministry into literally the ends of the earth.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, before, Sash, like we, a lot of people think that we're put here, on accident, we're a mistake. We have no divine purpose, but I mean, life is precious. Life's a gift, man. You got to look at it as a privilege.
Look at what, if you wouldn't mind, look at the car accident you were in. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe the hand of God was over your.
Yeah.
Could have been like T-boned by another car, so and I prayed to God that it didn't happen. But now God has given you that situation, so you can be a witness and a testimony of how here's how God blessed me with another opportunity to live, and with another opportunity to impact people's lives and to fight for this country, because you have a purpose and you have a will.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said, many times, I mean, my life's not perfect. No one is perfect.
I'm far from it.
Yeah. But we can learn from things that are thrown at us. We can learn to, either slow down in life or just take the time to look at stuff and say, you know what? I think this is a time to just slow down. And ladies and gentlemen,
finally,
yes, thank you very much. We've been carrying this show, Mr. Roberts here for 16 minutes, but it's okay. Guys, we are joined by Gary.
I don't know if it's my phone, man, or what, man. This Anchor thing, man, it's cool, but it is such a problem to get connected to you sometimes, man.
I'm telling you, it's a great network. I have to say, let me introduce you to the co-host here on the show. Gary, Anchor FM, it is the premium platform for podcasting today in the 21st century. I have to give it that way. But ladies and gentlemen here, let's welcome in Gary Roberts, which, Gary, I want to understand one thing before we open it up here. What's the dragon? What's the meaning behind dragon?
It's something that, when I used to live in Pensacola, I was running a boarding house. Okay. And one of the guys that rented there was a dope dealer. And people would come knocking on my window in the middle of the night. Now, I was refurbishing the house. I was the maintenance man. I was the landlord. Well, they would come knocking on my window at like 2:00 at night, and the next door neighbor guy that was the dope dealer said, "You better stop. You're going to wake up a dragon." Because I would go out in the middle of the night. I'd go out in the middle of the night with a freaking pry bar or something and want to beat people in the freaking head, waking me up.
Oh, wow.
And then one day we were having a barbecue outside, and I was doing the old put the lighter fluid in your mouth and blow fireballs. And this guy was around the back of the house fighting with his girlfriend, I guess, or something. He comes running around just as I blew a fireball, and I set his jacket on fire.
Holy shit.
And ever since then, but it's a mentality in a way, I'm a good, kind person, but you know what? I'm not taking no shit. And if you get me to that point, I'm not going to back down, and I will pick up things and fucking hit you, and I might set you on fire.
I hear you. But Gary, before we go into your story here, I want to introduce you to the co-host here on the show, Sasa. He's joined from his show. He's my co-host, but he also has his show, Remember God Loves You, and I'll Meet You at the Finish Line podcast. He's on this show, Sasa, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a week, right, buddy?
Well, through the radio or through the show, it's nice to meet you, sir.
Hello, Gary. Nice to meet you as well. I heard a lot about you. Quick question. Were you in the military?
Yes, I was. I did have an other than honorable because I'm not that good with authority.
Hey, guys, if you're trying to look for an organic product, right, you're getting tired of using the over-counter medication that's filled with chemicals, filled with all those nasty, cancerous ingredients, guys. Head over to liverishi.com. That's right, guys, liverishi.com. What is Live Rishi? It's an organic CBD oil company that uses natural hemp oil in their products, guys. As you can see, I'm out and about right now. You develop a rash from walking in the park, grab that Live Rishi cream with you, rub it on there. I'm telling you what, guys, it's going to work like wonders. It's going to work like wonders. Use promo code SAVAGEDUNFILTERED for 20% off your entire order, guys. And I'm telling you what, that's a great deal. 20% off your entire order, liverishi.com. Grab it today, guys.
Savaged Unfiltered.
I kept trying to go back for like 10 years. I kept trying to go back.
Yeah. So the other question I have for you is, what made you start this bicycle journey? What made you start this whole thing?
It was kind of a fluke in a way. I met this guy. His name's Jim Schwei. He lives in Naples, Florida. He saw me pushing my bicycle with a broken wheel down the street, and he decided to try and help me out, which led me to another guy who actually runs a charity called Bikes for Tykes, where he takes old bicycles, things like that, whatever, and he rebuilds them, and then he gives them away to needy children, people that can't afford it, every year at Christmas.
Okay.
Well, he helped me out, and me and Jim got to talking, and I was telling him about how I've been in other places where people have tried to start like someplace for like vets, and then homeless afterwards, but vets first, for them to have a place to go so they're not homeless. And then I moved to Houston, and he took the idea and he started running with it. So now we're getting something started in Naples. But when everything fell apart up in Ohio after my heart attack, I decided, well, I'm going to go back to Florida. The only way I could do it's on a bicycle. And instead of heading straight there, talking with him, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go do the Katy Trail, because I did that once before. It's a beautiful ride. It's the Lewis and Clark Trail.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, you go right past the spot where, I don't remember which one it was, Lewis or Clark, where they slid down the hill, and the only thing that kept them from falling off the cliff was they stuck their Bowie knife into the cliff. You go right past that spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all the people are amazing.
Yeah. Before we go back into the show, I was telling the listeners here before you came on the show, you have a couple quotes that I put down on notation that I would love to bring into the show here and get your personal view and your comment on it, on what drove you behind this quote. Because the one quote that kind of struck me, and I was telling Sas here before you joined us, is that you live by a quote saying, "You heal like a mutant, but your will is beyond the stars." What do you mean by that?
Well, I've been run over by a car.
Oh, dang.
My left leg, my tibia is titanium.
Okay.
I was hit coming out of Brunswick, Georgia. It took the mirror clean off the truck, left a piece of plastic 2 inches into my arm. Thought my arm was broken, but it wasn't. And then I was in Milton, Florida, just east of Pensacola. A drunk driver came across the road and hit me with his mirror in the face, and now I have a plate in my face.
Oh my God!
So you could be the titanium man.
Well, I should have been dead.
Yeah.
And when I got run over by the car in Clearwater, I almost bled to death. They said if they hadn't found me when they did, they said another 5 minutes, I would have bled out.
Oh my God! Well, definitely, God has been, watching over your shoulder, and with all these incidents and events that you experienced in your life, a lot of people would say that you're on borrowed time, but I don't look at it as borrowed time. I look at it as time.
I have a mission.
Yes, you do have a mission, and we're going to get into.
There's a reason I'm here. I've asked myself that so many times. You have no freaking clue.
Yeah, you do have a mission, Gary, and we're going to get into that mission in a short moment here. But I also
asked about the will. I want to finish following you up on your question. The will.
Go ahead.
My will beyond the stars is. You remember the old song "We Are Stardust"?
Yeah.
I believe that every single thing on this planet, every person, is connected to everything. even other stars. And if you look in science, the stuff from other stars came here to become our star and become our planets. And our sun is a second generation star. Everything that we are was built inside of a star that exploded, put everything out there, started another star, and then we coalesced. When I say that, it's because I believe, let me put it this way. There was a saying that Merlin once told to King Arthur. He said, "Do you see that rock? That rock is me, and I am that rock. Wow. Do you see that tree? I am that tree, and that tree is me. Do you see the stars? I am the stars, and the stars are me. When you understand that, you shall be king."
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's some powerful words there.
Yeah.
I think we lost Mr. Gary Roberts, but hopefully he'll be back. I think he might have had some connection issues. Yeah, some powerful words there, Sas. What's your comments on that, buddy?
Man, that's like interesting how like it resonates with you, and just how like you have to sometimes think about, especially the stardust. It's like something you have to think about and contemplate over, and like, man, that I'm just still baffled by it. It's like, man, that's a lot to think about. You know, it makes you reflect on your own life. It makes you reflect on the decisions you've made in the past and what you're going to think forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I wanted to ask him a couple more questions. You know, because he got into this star theory, and I mean, he was getting into some powerful words.
Yeah,
and I really wanted to go along with him on this journey on what he means by this, because this is something that I've never heard of at all, not only on this show, but just in life itself. Sas, have you ever heard of like words this powerful like this? Because this is some powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, like you said, I don't think I've ever heard. No, this whole star thing is brand new. I want to emphasize a little bit more on that, and like kind of get the meaning behind it, because, as a person of faith, I've never heard of that kind of connotation, that kind of a mixed, it's not a theory, but mixed words on that, or kind of a different aspect of life,
Sure.
We're always, because, we're always given like a more of a thing, like, God gives us all these trials and tribulations and stuff, but that's going to save it for tomorrow's episode for obstacles, which you're going to be on my show, which I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to come back on your show. I'd love to get into the updates on what happened with the car accident and everything else, because I think your listeners and my listeners need to kind of understand what happened and everything. I was going to explain it on the show, but I wanted to save the time with with Gary Roberts here, which unfortunately we lost him. I think he might have had some connection issues. We get it. I understand. Technology, like Sas, can be great, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like I think you've definitely worked alongside with me with technology, because I was way up north in the middle of nowhere, and there was frustrating times when it didn't just work and it didn't cooperate. So I understand. Like you said, technology can be good and bad. It can be beneficial at times when you need it, and when you need it the most, it's not there, sadly.
Yeah. And I think I understood what happened. I mean, obviously this is a gentleman that's biking across the country. He's biking across the country, and, maybe he hit a dead spot, on his phone or his tablet or whatever device he's using to communicate with us today on the show. But guys, before we close it out here, we did have a GoFundMe page that I'm going to put into the show notes here, because this gentleman here, obviously you would hear it from Gary, but he's not on the show right now because obviously the connection was lost. But he has a GoFundMe account, which I will put in the show notes, and I will.
Hey guys. If you're looking for a steak, I know it's hard to find steak, right? You know, a lot of restaurants that just overcooked, undercooked, just not to your taste buds, right? You want that juicy steak. Look no further than Omaha Steak. I love them, guys. Love them. If I didn't love them, why wouldn't I be promoting them on the podcast today? Go over to Omaha Steaks, okay? They are phenomenal, guys. The juiciest steak you'll ever taste in your life, okay? A lot of people are like, well, how does it get delivered to your house? You know, with gnats and bugs going to get into it. And no. It's not, you don't have to worry about all that. It is in a sealed, perishable bag delivered to your house. So you don't have to worry about the gnats and the bugs get into it. It's fresh from the time they ship it from their distribution center to the time it arrives at your house. The juiciest steak you'll ever have in your life, guys. Check them out today. Omaha Steaks. Love them. They're phenomenal.
We have Gary back on. Hello, Gary.
There we go. You know what? My screen thing was set for 10 minutes, and when it went dead and shut it off, that's what cut me off. I apologize. I set it for 30 now.
Oh, okay, good.
That's the max I can get to. So from now on, it's 30 minutes, and then we'll have to figure something else out.
Yeah, I'm so glad we have you back on the show here because we were just getting into going into your GoFundMe page, but we'll set that later in the show here because we do understand that you have set up a GoFundMe account for the purpose for your mission and your movement of what
and
you're
100% goes to the mission. I'm living off of the kindness and generosity of the people I'm meeting.
That's awesome. That's hey, Gary, hold on. If 1 second, if I may, that's what the purpose of, whether you're spiritual or you're religious, that's the type of connection we have to, accomplish in life. And Sas can relate because Sas is very spiritual and religious himself. Any thoughts on that, Sas?
I think that's awesome that people are being generous because we're missing that more and more in this day and age, especially because, like you said, we're becoming more of a to me, it's becoming more of a self-centered generation. And when you see people open their arms and when you see people open up their house and their resources to you, I mean, that just shows a testament, that God is protecting you, that God has got a plan for you and that he's got a will, and that will is going to give you everlasting life in paradise, and it's also going to allow you to impact other veterans' lives with that tiny house thing that you're pushing for. But I want to go back to the star theory. Can you explain to that, like the star theory and the stardust? Because I was talking about that, Michael, and I said that's a new kind of a thing that I never thought about. Can you explain to the listeners?
Actually, it's not new, dude. This theory. And it's not really theory. I mean, it actually is provable science. The only way you can get heavy compounds like iron, oxygen, gold, anything like that, all has to come from hydrogen. So hydrogen has to turn into helium. Helium turns into oh crap, I can't remember now, and I used to take physics. Helium turns into like oxygen, carbon, things like that. All these things are built inside of stars. And then once the star uses its fuel, it explodes and it throws that stuff out into the universe. This has been going on for billions of years. And these pieces go to another place, and then they become incorporated into that.
Yeah, Gary, is this some of what you're explaining here on the show? Is this a type of possibly a theory or a movement that you live your life by? Like, do you see yourself like when? All right, what I'm trying to say to get yourself motivated? Is this the type of stuff that you keep yourself motivated through in order to keep on going? Because everybody has different types of, ways of, just continuing their journey. Is this something that you look at it as continuing your journey?
Well, yeah, in a way.
That's awesome.
I mean, because
everybody's different.
Because Chow Yun-chi in China, and I don't know if that's a real person. I just made the name up, but there might be somebody there named Chow Yun-chi. We're made from the same stuff. We came from the same stars. We're built out of the same material. Whether you want to use it as science or you want to use it as God, what do you think God would use? You think in a way, do you think he really, this is my personal belief. I believe he created mankind, but I believe what he did first was he created all the elements in order for there to be mankind.
Yeah. I got to get Sas's view on this because Sas is more religious than I am. I'm more spiritual. I'm almost similar to what your belief is, Gary. But I'm
very spiritual.
Yeah,
and I'm somewhat religious. But I mean, I do not discount years of provable science.
Right.
Oh boy, this is a very good topic that we're on. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead, Sas. I think Gary's leaving you and me speechless here on some of the words. I mean, that's awesome. This is a theory, a concept that, I'm like, wow, this is some powerful shit here on the show. So go ahead, Sas.
And it's provable science.
Yeah,
much of it really is.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sas.
Well, I think. When God said in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth and the stars and to light up the sky. I believe that he created that. I also believe that, he created the earth. And when he said he created man out of dust, I think that a lot of us really, when it comes to science, it's like, at the end of the day, we have science is like some of it can be proven, some of it cannot. And so it's interesting.
No, all science is absolutely proven. It's mathematics. It's undeniable, just like the Word of God. If you change,
Savaged, unfiltered.
Some of it can be proven, some of it cannot. And so it's interesting.
No, all science is absolutely proven. It's mathematics. It's undeniable, just like the Word of God. If you change 0.00000 to infinity 1 of any calculation, it changes the outcome.
I got to say one thing before anybody speaks here, Gary. Usually, I'm not going to lie to you. Usually, I have Sas like freaking like back and forth with conversation here. This is probably the first that I've heard Sas actually silent on this topic we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, that's where I say that I am spiritual, and I am a bit religious, but I take science into consideration. And who's to say God didn't just create the earth? Maybe God created the universe, and he created the situation in which all of this came about. Well, and he lets it happen naturally. Because, if you think about it, if God was so involved with all of it, we wouldn't have most of the stuff we have. No, God set everything in motion, and he's letting it play out.
I think
that brings me to a point.
That's where we have free will. We get to choose.
Yeah.
Well,
that brings me to Hold on, Sas. It brings me to a point here where you go into some other words with idle minds and hands, and you stated that it's the devil's workshop. Sas and I were talking about that briefly before you came on earlier in the show. The idle hands, Gary, right? Or excuse me, the idle minds and the hands are the devil's workshop. Like, what do you mean by that?
But I would have thought that one's pretty simple. Okay, idle minds, all these people. I mean, I grew up way before the internet and cell phones and all this other stuff.
Obviously, yeah, you and I come from almost similar generations. I think your generation's about 15 years older than my generation, but yes, I can relate. Yeah, go ahead.
I would learn from like my uncle how to do carpentry, and then me and my cousins would go build a treehouse. I learned from my dad how to chop, cut. I learned from my father how to do anything to a freaking car that you ever wanted done. I learned from the people that were across the street. I used to go across the street when I wasn't working in my dad's paint and body shop. I'd go over there and learn how to rebuild transmissions, rear ends, engines, stuff like that. That's the idle hands and idle minds. When I was doing something like that and I was learning things that I can turn into a skill later in life, which I didn't like doing body work, but I got into detailing cars and I was still making, what, $80,000 a year and living comfortably. I got free tickets to Braves games, Falcons games, Hawks games, NASCAR.
Oh, wow. Well, see, I can be your best friend already because I'm a Red Sox fan myself. I grew up in New York, but it was either the Mets or the Yankees, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to be a Boston Red Sox fan. But Sas, join in, buddy, if you want. Gary, we're leaving Sas.
But I mean, I always thought it made so much. I always thought it made so much sense that if you're occupying your mind with learning things, and then you're working with your hands. Even when we would play, me and my cousins and my friends, we were out building things. We were using the knowledge we had to build something for us to play with.
Well, because
that kept us away from drugs, that kept us away from doing any kind of crime.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sas.
That's what it means. Idle hands and idle minds are the devil's play shop, because when you're not doing something to better yourself and get out there and do something, what are you going to do? You're going to sit around, oh, I'm out of dope, let's go rob somebody. Instead of going and getting I know a lot of people that do dope. They have jobs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, by far.
They don't commit crimes. I'm not endorsing doing dope in as much, but at least they're doing something and they're not being evil and committing crimes in order to get it. They still keep a job. Yeah. They still think. They still cut their grass every Saturday.
Hey, Gary, hang on. I mean, you're on tremendous topics here, but I gotta let the co-host come in here on the conversation. Go ahead, Sas.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry, dude.
No, you're good, Gary. No, so when reading your quote, actually, it kind of was like I was kind of blown away. I'm like, okay, I could see how if we don't like idle hands, for instance, it could be our mindset, like what you said with either like how it's not, if we don't set our minds into impacting an individual's life, we're not, that's not impacting or glorifying God in a sense. For instance, yesterday, I could have, with my time, with your hands and stuff, I think of that as more of a metaphor. I could have done a simple thing. We could have gone to the point. We could have gone to the lake, or we could have gone to somewhere doing something fun. But But on the other hand, I'm like thinking, okay, what am I impacting somebody's life in a positive way, or am I doing more damage? So that, and we went to a gentleman's club and we impacted people's lives. And so we're not idolizing.
Oh, don't call it gentleman's club. Do you mean strip club?
Well, you got to, hey Gary, you got to bear. Hang on, guys.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just
Gary, hold on. You got to bear with Sauce. Sauce is his vocabulary sometimes is not there. Sauce actually, believe it or not, is from the country of Russia. He grew up in Russia and he came here as a small child. So some of his views and thoughts are a little bit different than Americanized thoughts. So I'm just kind of.
Oh no! I completely understand. One of my best friends, he was Polish and he served in the Russian military. I can tell you a story about grapefruit and the Berlin Wall.
Oh, that's shit. That would be on another topic or another episode. But go ahead.
But no, I do get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're impacting their lives and vice versa. And then you just planted a seed in their heart. If they don't know who Christ is, or if they don't know who a person to believe in, you just planted a seed, and this passing it forward, kindness and stuff. And Gary, I would like to apologize. I mean, the reason why I'm more of a biblical and more of a theological coming background is because I'm actually a hospice minister, and I do a podcast called Remember God Loves You, and I'm at the finish line. So that's why I love this conversation we're having, because it's going back and forth. It's a healthy conversation.
Well, no, look, you don't have to apologize to me, dude. I listen to The Blaze. I love Glenn Beck. I love Chad Prather. Number one, they're totally about religion, the Bible, and God, but they're funny.
Yes.
But they also make total sense. So you don't have to apologize to me, man.
Yeah, I gotta say something here before we continue the show. I mean, this is probably, ladies and gentlemen, the most I don't want to use the words intense, but rather interesting episodes that myself and even Sauce here has had. By far most. I mean, like I said, guys, we usually talk about politics on the show. We get into some culture and society viewpoints, but Sauce, this is probably the only episode that I've had you on, and you've been on several episodes with me since you've been on the show. Yep. Sharing your story, coming from Russia, a small village in Russia, coming to the United States as a small child, which I highly suggest the listeners tune into that episode. A very, very touching story from Sauce. But
send me a link to it. Send me a link to it. I would like to hear that, because, like I said, my friend from Poland that was in the Russian military, me and him became great friends. I love hearing stories from the other side, and then hearing how everything is different
Gary,
since the wall came down.
Buddy, you got to let me. I know you're full of information here, sir, but hold on. I'll get this point here.
I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But what I'm saying is, this is like the first episode, that I've had Sauce here speechless.
I know. I'm dumbfounded.
Blown away. Yeah. But before we get into it here, because we're going to close it out here about another 10 minutes, probably less than that. Gary, you got this movement going on for the vets. Where is it at right now?
Right now, I still have not had a single donation, but every town I've been going through and the people I've been talking to, they are talking about starting something there. So if I end up not raising a single dollar to do this in Naples, then I guess that's just what happens. But I have people from Ohio to Indiana, and I'm about to go to Illinois. That's just right across the river. I talk to people and I tell them, and I have people help me. I had like just the other night, I had an officer ask me what I was doing. I told him. He got me a motel room for 2 nights.
Wow. That's awesome.
I've had people just pull up on the highway. Looks like you could use this. They hand me like $20-$40 or something. And I use that for like batteries for my lights.
No,
things like that.
You didn't ask for that, did you? They just gave it to you?
I didn't ask for nothing. They just come up to me and give it to me.
Damn. Oh, okay.
See, it shows kindness of people's hearts, that there is kindness still out in this day and age.
That is what I'm trying to get out to people. I've been riding across this country for years, actually, ever since I got run over. I've been riding around. I started in Florida, then I started riding across the country, and everywhere I go, there are these amazing people who will just give you stuff, no questions asked, and you don't have to beg for nothing. They just look at you and they're like, you need this.
Yeah, quick question, buddy. Quick question. Have you thought of the state of Wisconsin yet?
Yes.
I have not been there since I was 7.
Well, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
Well, my goal is to hit the Katy Trail because I want to do that one last time.
Okay.
Because that's 236 miles.
Oof, yeah. Yeah, some rocky terrain, too.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's all flat.
Okay, so Gary.
At least until you hit Boonville, and then it's kind of hilly. But but it's all trail and it's railroad track. So it's not hard to bike. And you saw my trailer.
Yeah, you sent me pictures through off the air. Yeah.
Gary, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the tiny homes. What is your purpose of the tiny homes and the setting it up of the tiny homes? Like, is there a story behind the tiny homes, and what do you see coming out of it?
The tiny homes is, I know a bunch of vets, and I see what they live in.
Yeah.
They live in tents,
That's terrible.
A tiny home is enough space, and then they're actually indoors.
Yeah.
And we could set up a whole bunch of them on a small piece of property. But we're not going to just put up the tiny homes. We're going to have a community garden. We're going to have a community center with either a volunteer or a person from the VA.
Okay.
So that way they can get their benefits, and if they need food stamps or whatever, then we can take care of that. Yep. We're figuring a van or 2 because nobody wants it in their neighborhood.
No, it's
I find.
Yeah, Gary, it's kind of hard to pass. We live in a country, where, some of these, these tiny homes, that are not used for veterans. Some of these people, they purchase these tiny homes from a company, a manufacturer, and, they put them on listings like Airbnb and others to rent out. And they're very, very hard to find, land to put these on because, these things have become restricted in a lot of states. And I've noticed that a lot.
Oh no! The thing I've been running into is everybody loves the idea. Yes, give the vets a home. Oh, but not in my neighborhood. And one of my thoughts is, who the heck do you want in your neighborhood? Wouldn't you rather have a bunch of vets so that if something happens, you've got heroes who are going to run to it and fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's an amazing story here, Gary. We're gonna have to close it up. Unfortunately, I do have a 3 p.m. Appearance I have to make on a show here. Before we close it up, do you have any final thoughts, short final thoughts, on your movement, on your mission, and where you would like it to go from there?
I'd just like to see somebody help. Push the GoFundMe so I can start telling my friend Jim in Florida that we got money and we can start buying land. And then what we do with the land after that ain't going to matter to anybody anyways.
I understand.
We need help.
Yeah.
We need help, man. And you know what? There's a lot of guys out there that need help. I've talked to these vets, and they really want to get out of tents, and they want to have some place that they can just go lay down inside and not worry about anything.
Yeah, I understand. We're going to close it out here, Gary. I got to close it out here, sir. But where can they find this GoFundMe page? To really get the word out there.
I sent it to you. I don't know if I can pull it up right this minute.
I know it's GoFundMe. Is it GoFundMe.com/Gary Roberts?
No, it's a number 34.
Okay, yeah. If you could send that to me, sir, I'll put that in the show notes here on the show. That way we can get the word out here. Hopefully we can get you some help, some funding towards your mission, your cause.
Can you give me one moment, or you really got to go?
Yeah, we got to close it out here, sir. So I'm gonna, like I said, just send it to me off the air here, and we'll put that in the show notes here in the show.
Well, I sent it to you before.
Yeah, I think I have. Oh, yeah, I have it now. Okay, but like I said, we're gonna put that in the show notes.
Put that out there.
Yeah, we're gonna put it in the show notes, and hopefully we'll get the support out to you, and hopefully somebody's listening to this show has a heart, and they like to see this movement go a little further. And I wish you all the best.
I would hope so, because you know what, these guys, they risk their lives for people they don't even know.
Absolutely.
So we could be free, and so that me and you could be doing this right now, and we're not under some socialist.
Trust me, that's another topic. I understand. But Gary, thank you for tuning into the show today. Thank you very much, and God bless you, man. I hope everything works out for you, man.